Hiya, hiya, it's the Joey Reynolds Rap. I'm wearing scrubs so that I get the respect that I so richly don't deserve. If I'm Dr. Reynolds and all of a sudden MD, I got an initial after my name and I have some sort of a scroll, some parchment on the wall, that makes me an expert. And you don't get that in broadcasting. You know, there's no experts in broadcasting. The only people that are really revered and are put on a pedestal are those who are in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And for some reason, I'm in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, but not the Radio Hall of Fame. Now, I'm in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame because I had the highest ratings in history. And now I have the Radio Hall of Fame. They never really acknowledged me. So the thing that made me famous, I don't have an award from. But the other thing, I don't make any music. I don't play an instrument. I don't even. I have no desire to learn anything. I'm a doctor. That's why, boy. You know. Hey, I love those sayings. Don't you love them? What's a great one? Of you only get paid for what you need. Try telling a heart surgeon that. Or what's the other one? There's another slogan. I like this one here. That they take only what you know. There's a couple of them. What's the one that I saw today? There was one today that if we don't get paid, you don't get paid. That sounds like XM Sirius. Wonderful scrubs, though, right? I mean, they're so colorful. Now I know when you put this on, you feel like Dr. Oz. You know, all of a sudden you can be a heart surgeon. Now I think the airlines really need to have a doctor on board now, because of all the acting out that's going on. They need a doctor, a nurse, a therapist, and a military guy with a big weapon. I mean, people are ridiculous on these flights now. They don't want to wear a mask. So they act out and they start beating up on someone because someone reminds them that they should wear one. That's because there's three people sitting together. You know, if you separate them, then you can have a timeout. You know, if someone misbehaves, put them in the bathroom. That's what they do with kids. You know, put them in a room and make sure that there's no toilet paper and let them go in there without flushing. You'll see, they'll straighten out real fast. That'll do it. Give me a mask. Spirit Airlines, what a name. They give themselves these great names. I always was leery of ValueJet. And that's the one that went down in the Everglades. And Carnival, oh yeah, lots of fun. Carnival crew, oh, it's a Rio de Janeiro. It's absolutely a carnival to fly on that airline. The one they really ought to call is DownJet, No Chance, Latecomer. They ought to give them the names that they really deserve. And if JetBlue would fly to Israel, they could be JetJew. And I noticed that we're having the storms, and they're blaming it on the storms. You know, the storms in up north and the east, they blame it on Canada. They say the Canadian front is moving in. In Florida, they blame it on Africa. There they go, blaming the colored people again. You know, I mean, this is it. It's always going to be like that. So what's my favorite airline? Okay, my favorite airline is when I get goosed and I fly across the counter from some beautiful young lady. That's my favorite airline. I want to fly on my own. No, my favorite airline would probably be Virgin. Good luck on that one. I think somewhere. Is it Bezos and Branson, the B&B, the Airbnb team? They got it all figured out. You know, first of all, they have $1 billion and they have their own squad. The good thing about them is they don't have to pay a baggage fee when they're going to another planet. And the other thing is you don't deal with a carousel and there's no waiting. You know, you just take off. That's it. You don't have to wait till everybody else boards the plane, which is really a good word, boarding, B-O-R-E, board the plane. When you're in the terminal, I love those announcents that they make too. They make announcements on flights that don't concern you, and they make also all kinds of threats too. There's threats, you know, you left your iPad at the checkout counter at the TSA, you know, and the TSA is like the Gestapo, you know, hey. Salute these guys, the security jobs. They have this. They make you feel like you're doing something wrong, you know. it's a sentiment that they put it out there, like, and they go through all your bags and your luggage. I had food, and boy, am I glad I had all that bad cheese. Those guys open everything. They're like raccoons. They get in there and they take everything out, and then they tell you it's good to go, but they don't repack it properly. And you just got a whole thing going through the airport anymore now because of that guy that had some powder in his shoe years ago and nothing ever happened anyway. So we set up a security force. I think it was to give people jobs, really. A lot of people were out of work, and they figured, well, let's create an industry. Let's create something that's really irritating and aggravating, and it'll give the people humility when they get on the airplane, and they'll be so glad to get the hell out of there that they're going to say, wow, what a great flight. It's so unpleasant on an airline that you feel good when you've arrived, so that you applaud. They applaud when the plane lands. I think I always thank the pilot on the way out. I usually give him a tip. It's like they used to do in the old days when you were going to get your head cut off in the Elizabethan period in England. They would it was called a tip, and what it was the henchman was going to cut your head off for the crime you committed in public. And what they would do is sharpen their blade, and if you had to give them a tip, and that was because if the blade wasn't sharpened, you were going to suffer, and if you didn't do it quickly, you were going to suffer. So you would give him money. You would give him your last money. You'd give him your reverse mortgage, and it was a tip, and the acronym for to ensure promptness. That's what tip comes from, and it was for that blade that goes across your neck when you're being executed for some terrible thing, like calling a president a name, or a queen, or a king. If you were disrespectful, you go to the tower and they cut your head off. If you had money, then you got to tip the guy. But this is the same thing we have in New York. It's a Reynolds Wrap.